By default, the elements in a stream come in the same order as the underlying data source. For example, here we have a list of 3 movies, A, B, and C. If we create a stream from this list, the movies that we get in that stream are going to be in the same order, A, B, C. But we can change the order using the sorted method. So I'm going to change the order of these movies to B, A, and C, and then show you how to sort these movies by their title. First, we get a stream, so movies.stream. Then we call the sorted method. Now this method is overloaded. One version takes no arguments. The other version takes a comparator object. Do you remember the difference? We talked about this earlier in the course. There are basically 2 ways to implement sorting in Java. One way is to go to the movie class and implement the comparable interface. This is a generic interface. So here we pass the movie class. Now, if we implement the interface, we get a compare to method in this class. With this method, we can determine how these movies should be sorted. Perhaps we can say they're going to be sorted by their title. Now, this works for a lot of scenarios, but it has limitations. What if you want to sort a movie by a different parameter? Let's say by the number of likes or by the release date. That is when we use the comparator interface. So back to our demo class. This sorted method, if we call the version without any arguments, this will rely on the movie class itself to determine the ordering. And that means we should implement the comparable interface in our movie class. If you want to have more flexibility, we should use this version. Here we should pass an object that implements the comparator interface. These are the methods declared in the comparator interface. Here we have a single abstract method for comparing 2 objects. So the comparator interface is a functional interface, and we can represent it using a lambda expression. So our lambda expression should match the signature of this method. It should take 2 objects and return an integer that will determine the ordering. So over here, we pass a lambda expression with 2 parameters. Let's call them A and B. Now each parameter here is a movie object. So if we type a dot, we see the methods of the movie class. Now let's say we want to compare the movies by their title. So we get the title of the first movie. This returns a string object. Strings in Java are comparable. So here we can call the compare2 method and pass the title of the second movie, b.getTitle. Now this expression is grayed out because there is a simpler way to rewrite this expression. I'm going to show you how this works in a second. But before we do that, let's call the forEach method and print each movie. So getTitle. Now run. So we get A, B, and C. Beautiful. Now, how can we rewrite this code in a simpler fashion? Well, back to the documentation of the comparator interface. Here we have a static method called comparing that is overloaded. With this, we can easily determine the attribute that will be used for sorting data. Let me show you. So here we call sorted. I'm just going to rewrite this expression down below so we can compare them. We call comparator dot comparing. This is a static method in our interface, so we can call it like a static method in our class. Now, here we should pass a function that takes a movie object and returns a different value. That is the value we're going to use for sorting movies. So we can pass a lambda like this. M goes to m.getTitle. What we have over here is identical to what we have on the top. But we're not done yet. We can even simplify this further. Look at this lambda expression. What are we doing here? All we are doing is calling a method. So this is where we can use a method reference. We can type movie get title without parentheses, because we're not going to call that method. We're going to add a reference to it. Okay. Now, if we put the caret on this expression and press Alt and Enter, you can see that IntelliJ also produces the same expression. Okay. Now, we don't need one of them. That is better. Now, what if you want to sort these movies in descending order? That is very easy. Let's look at the return type of the comparing method. It returns a comparator interface. So right after calling the comparing method, we can call another method in the comparator interface. We have this reverse method, which is one of the default methods in this interface. With this, we can change the order of sorting data. Now, let's run our program We get C, B, and A. So this is how we can sort elements in a string.